Welcome back, everyone. I hope you are all doing good. So, the topic of today is one that is guaranteed to spark discussion, to spark strong opinions, and a lot of historical debate. So, white people ended slavery, and a black American is confirming this honest truth. So, now, before anyone jumps to conclusions, let's just take a moment to approach this conversation thoughtfully because, history is rarely as simple as a single sentence, and statements like these often go viral because they reduce a very complex historical issue into a short headline. So let's get into this video. I'll be coming back with more commentaries, and in case of any thoughts, kindly feel free to let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, stay tuned.
White people didn't invent slavery. In fact, they were the first to end it. Yet somehow, saying this is controversial. Watch what happens when someone says it out loud.
The reason there is no slavery in the world today, I mean, there's a lot of slavery in the world today, but in the parts of the world where there's no slavery, is because the British Empire ended it. That's why there is no slavery. That is... Well,
that's going to
look, the fact that you are uneducated about history doesn't mean it's funny. So let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. Let me educate you now. I know that the woke narrative and the anti-Western narrative on slavery... Well, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you? You're not practicing free speech very well, are you? The moment I say something you don't like, you're not practicing free speech very well, are you, sir?
Let's be clear. Slavery is evil, but it's an ancient human evil. Practiced by everyone, to everyone. 4 years ago, I went to Ghana. I stood in a slave dungeon where people who looked like me sold people who looked like me to white people. But long before Europeans began the transatlantic slave trade, there was a trans-Saharan slave trade. For over 1,000 years, brown Arab slavers sold millions of black Africans across the Sahara. Then came the Barbary slave trade. In North Africa, Arab and African raiders captured and sold over 1 million white Christian Europeans. China, Korea, Japan, India, every one of them practiced slavery. Europeans did take slavery to another scale when they came to Africa. But it's not because they were more evil, it's because they had the technology to commit evil on an industrial scale. So, which major power stopped slavery first? The British. In large part because of pro-human Christian values. The same values America was founded on. The same values that drove white Americans to fight other white Americans to free black Americans in the Civil War. Values missing in places like Libya, where today you can buy a human being for $400. White people aren't better than anyone else, but they're also not worse. Yet, some black people are taught to hate white people, and many white people are taught to hate themselves. We keep pretending evil has a color, as if less melanin means less morality. That lie makes us ignore history and fuels racial hatred. Right now, much of that hatred is aimed at white people. But why should black or brown people care? Because hatred is a hot coal that we hold in our hand, waiting to throw at another. It burns them, but it burns us too. It turns every problem into white supremacy while defending black degeneracy. And when the pendulum swings back, white people react with hostility, and then they defend white degeneracy. The only way out of this is to stop making morality about the color of people. Because in our capacity for good and evil, we are all equals.
Yeah, the first thing that stands out is how I phrase it as white people ended slavery. So, supporters of this statement will often point to the fact that many abolitionists in the United States and even Europe were white. And they mention politicians, the religious leaders, activists, and ordinary citizens who fought against slavery, sometimes at great personal cost. So they also point to the fact that many soldiers who fought during the American Civil War were white and died in a conflict that ultimately led to the abolition of slavery in the United States. So, from that perspective, some people were arguing when I was scrolling through the social media comments that it is historically accurate to acknowledge the role that white abolitionists played in ending slavery. And to be fair, history does not show that many people from different backgrounds joined the abolitionist movement. However, we have critiques of the statement saying that it leaves out a major part of the story, that enslaved black people themselves resisted slavery for centuries, that they escaped, they organized revolts, they preserved their humanity under brutal conditions and continually challenged their institution. So, black abolitionists, the writers, the speakers, and activists also played a significant role in exposing the horrors of slavery and building support for its abolition. So, when people hear the phrase, white people ended slavery, some feel that it oversimplifies history by overlooking the effort and sacrifices made by black individuals who fought for their own freedom. What's interesting is that the title specifically mentions this black American, and yes, he is here confirming this viewpoint. And that is likely why the discussion has attracted so much attention. You know, in today's social media environment, when someone expresses an opinion that goes against what many people expect, it will often generate strong reactions. So, some viewers may see the statement as an example of honesty and historical balance. They may argue that acknowledging contributions from all groups is important and that history should not be viewed through a purely racial lens. Others may argue that focusing solely on one group's role can distort the broader historical picture. They may believe that ending slavery was the result of many factors coming together, including activism, resistance, political change, economic pressures, moral arguments, and ultimately war. And what I find fascinating is how quickly conversations about history can become conversations about identity. And you know, people are often not just debating facts, they are debating how those facts should be interpreted and remembered. And for example, one person might hear this statement and think that we should recognize those who fought against slavery, regardless of race. And another person might hear the same statement and think, why are we talking about who ended slavery without discussing who created and benefited from it in the first place? So these are very different perspectives, and both help explain why discussions like these become so emotionally charged. The reality is that history is usually more complicated than social media headlines suggest. Large historical changes rarely happen because of a single group acting alone. They happen because many individuals, movements, and circumstances interact over time. And one thing that can be helpful in approaching these conversations with curiosity instead of immediately which side is right. It may be more productive to ask that what part of the story is being emphasized and what part might be missing. That's where meaningful discussion begins. And another reason this topic resonates with so many people is because the legacy of slavery continues to influence conversations about race, opportunity, and social issues today. And as a result, debates about the past are often connected to concerns about the present. People want history to be told accurately because they believe that the way we understand the past affects how we understand ourselves and our society today. And at the end of the day, what this viral discussion reveals is that many people are still deeply interested in history and how it is remembered. Whether you agree or disagree with this statement, it has clearly started an important conversation. That the challenge for all of us is to engage with that conversation respectfully, examine the historical evidence carefully, and recognize that major historical events often involve contributions from many different people and groups. But what do you think? Do you believe the statement that white people ended slavery is an accurate summary of history? Or do you think it leaves out important parts of the story? Just share your thoughts in the comments and let's keep the discussion respectful and focused on learning from history. And if you enjoyed this reaction and commentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another discussion. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. And this video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well.